gorgeous! A romantic comedy with Ducky Chan in it and some absolutely awesome fight sequences, which I've kind of awkwardly shoved into the plot that is mostly, like I said, a romantic comedy. It's kind of hit and miss, to be honest. There is some great physical comedy, which is absolutely hilarious, and like I said, the fight scenes are awesome. It's just that the main characters are fairly confusing in terms of their motivation and personality and backstory, and on top of that, it has quite possibly the worst breakup scene I've ever seen in a movie ever.
And that's saying something for romantic comedies.
Oh, what the fuck, I'm gonna spoil it. Trust me, I'm doing you people a favour. Jackie Chan's character, who's just called E.N. Chan, he's a rich person who saved the girl's life a couple of times. Now, by contrived convenience, there happens to be a gangster's girlfriend who is missing but happens to look exactly like the female lead. And she thinks, in order to impress him, I'll pretend to be this gangster's girlfriend. Which is a plan that has so many flaws, I don't know where to start, but I'll continue. And the breakup happens because there's a point in the film where she goes to meet Ian Chan in his factory, and she sees him talking to the gangster's girlfriend. Not in a romantic way or anything, just saying that he found her. But she's absolutely shocked and appalled by this because apparently he knew that she wasn't the gangster's girlfriend, but didn't tell her. And apparently, this is incredibly offensive to her. Even though, as he points out in the same scene, she lied first.
What?
I know, I had to stop the movie go, what? Because straight after that, she acts like this is some great big heinous crime that's happened to her. She acts like he basically stole her virginity or something like that. She acts like this was a very splendid and you ruined it. You completely crushed my dreams. And
Oh my god, what the
I think it's the first time I've ever had to actually stop a DVD whilst playing it and just go, what? What? What the? What?
I would have had to stop it just to face off. Oh my god.
Last but not least, I want to move on before my brain implodes.
Manga, not much going on. Fairy Tail has been okay, Naruto has been pretty interesting, and it's implied that this month we will soon find out who Toby is, and we'll now cut to a recording of the future of what our reactions are. Well, that was a mildly uninspiring twist. That was a mildly interesting twist. Wow, that was great. That certainly put everything into perspective and wants me to keep reading the series. And, of course, to top it off, what the f*** was the point in that? And to top things off, Boyd is gonna be on a hiatus for a while because Kubos apparently too sick to draw. Get well soon, dude. But at the same time, he's been enraging fans by killing off Byakuya.
And let me just say this. I wouldn't have had a problem with it because I used to be vehemently anti-character death, but now, after reading A Song of Fire and watching Game of Thrones, I've kind of become desensitized to it. Trust me, you learn to desensitize yourself after half the cast dies. But that still doesn't change the fact that I can already tell that Kubo is doing this just for the shock factor, for absolutely no reason whatsoever in the plot. He killed Byakuya over the course of 2 chapters. He dropped a bridge on him for shock factor.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he's created so many other characters to be killed off. You think that with a character as popular as Byakuya, he would have given him a slightly better send-off, at least allow him one small victory before, well, being utterly torn apart by his own weapon.
Yeah, like, I rarely ever use examples from Naruto as positive because, let's face it, Shippuden has been the most confusing mixed bag in manga history. But you could have at least taken a page out of Jiraiya's book, or Asuma's.
Yeah, at least both of them got to do something badass and at least move the plot along before that.
Yeah, but in Byakuya's case, you can just tell this was completely for the shock factor, and probably just to prove that, hey, look at me, I can kill characters now, now let me write my bullets, please.
Yeah, and for all you know, he's probably going to revive him at the end of the chapter anyways.
Yeah, either that or by some contrived coincidence, he's somehow survived being utterly obliterated after Ichigo got back after being curb stomped by Ukiura. I would not be surprised if that happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, it probably turned out that he's not quite dead yet, he's just 1% away from death.
Yeah, it's that contrived Princess Bride thing coming up. He's only mostly dead.
Oh, sigh.
But yeah, either way, these past 2 chapters have made absolutely no sense in the sense of Bleach or in the sense of character death because they didn't add anything. It's not as though I think this plot point is even going to move the story along. To be quite honest, I'm as irritated as the Byakuya fans, but for other reasons.
Yeah, I think that's about sums up everything, so...
Yeah.
And with all that, we can move on to the last section.
Discussion!
Yep, we've gone back to discussion this week since there has pretty much been little to no news of any worth. I mean, the only thing that's occurred is that the director of Tails said that he is working on Smash Brothers and he would like to include Tails characters, but it's Sakurai as the last say. And then Sakurai came out and said, I'm not particularly fond of including third-party characters for the next one. So, yeah, it's pretty much a moot point either way.
Well, this was the guy who denied the existence of Sonic for the longest time possible.
That is true. I mean, he does say that adding Sonic was a very positive thing, he's just not very keen to repeat it.
Well, if it was a very positive thing, then why wouldn't you repeat it with a much better series?
I don't know. But yeah, we have a discussion, so let's get on to that. Now, me and Sven love playing video games. Heck, I'm sure 90% of our audience does as well. But sometimes we encounter elements that don't exactly ruin a game for us, but still irritate us to the point that we want to avoid them as much as possible. In short, today we're going to discuss our pet peeves in gaming. So Sven, do you want to start this off?
Sure, why not? Pet peeve number 1. Games that are more cutscenes than games.
Yes. I'm guessing you're talking about the Metal Gear Solid variety?
Yeah, that and the Uncharted variety. Where even the battles are cutscenes because of QuickTime events.
Oh, yes.
I may be able to enjoy the story, but it's not supposed to be watching a visual novel. I'm supposed to be playing the game.
Admittedly, I don't mind cutscenes because they're a tool to use in a game just like any other. The problem is, you can't just continuously use it over and over again. I mean, the best way to use cutscenes is to establish context or basically just do things that the game engine can't do normally. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who just end up abusing cutscenes because it looks flashy, pretty much.
Yeah, and the QuickTime events, I have to echo a VGT of yours. Do they not trust us to finish our own boss battles?
Yeah, I think QuickTime events, they just insisted on making something look flashy. I mean, some people say, well, it's an interactive for gameplay. Not really. It's a very cheap, as Yahtzee always sums it up, it's just press X to not die. It's not really gameplay as such. It's just pressing the correct button to continue the plot, really. I heard God of War used QuickTime events pretty well, and depending on your opinions, Heavy Rain as well, but I haven't played either of those games yet, so I can't be a very good judge. I'm sorry.
Well, remember Heavy Rain was the game that gave us the mechanic of pressing X to Jason.
Oh, yes. Well, it gave the trope name, but I mean, in Luigi's Mansion, you could press A to Mario.
Actually, I remember doing that. That was kind of mildly fun.
But yeah, I can kind of understand that. I mean, there are ways you can use them well. It's just that there are people who, like I say, either want to make it look flashy or secretly are frustrated filmmakers and basically just use the cutscenes to make up for that.
Yeah, I don't know who directed Uncharted, but I have a feeling that's their whole MO. They're a frustrated, failed filmmaker who has decided to use games as a medium for filmmaking.
Pretty much, yeah. It happens more often than you might think, unfortunately. As well as Ben and move on, my first pet peeve, there are 1 or 2 pet peeves I have of RPGs. I've already mentioned that I'm dissatisfaction with grinding, especially now that I'm working 2 part-time jobs and have less time for gaming, therefore I have less time to put up with your BS.
I quite like that way of putting it.
I'm sorry, my time is precious. I do not want to spend 2 hours in the same arena. I want to get to the next point, that is all. Yeah, grinding I have a bit beef with. I've also gone around before about how I dislike it when you equip an armor and that changes the clothing, often because you have to make your character look absolutely hideous in order to survive. But the one thing that really does faintly irritate me in RPGs is something they've added recently, especially Namco, because they did it in Tales of Vesperia and they did it in Eternal Sonata. I don't know if they're still doing it, but when it appears, it really annoys me. And that is level up quotes. The whole point of leveling up, you go up a level of strength, and some people may say, well, isn't that more realistic? The level up as a special event, so people would comment on it. No, it isn't! You don't notice when you get stronger. When you get talented with something through continuous practice, you don't feel it. You only recognize it when someone tells you it, or you look in the mirror and you notice, huh, I've got bigger muscles than normal. You know, there's like no point when I'm editing Monkey Broadcast where I suddenly cut away and go, yes, my editing skills have gone up! Or...
Yeah, I see exactly what you mean. Leveling up is supposed to be that physical aspect of character development over time, and character development is usually not commented on, taken as a fourth wall breaking celebration.
I don't get it. It's one of these weird things where people think it's realistic, but it just causes more problems. I mean, why the hell is this situation so special that they feel the need to shout out or go, I feel like I'm brimming with power? No, you're not. You've become slightly better than you were before, not by much.
Yeah, if characters commented on that in, say, D&D, I would actually excuse it more because now you are comparatively brimming with power and you're that much closer to not dying.
Yeah, that's the thing, but when you've just gone like one level up, it's not that significant. I mean, maybe if you took an incredibly long time to build up levels, but honestly, it doesn't at all. Well, not in most games, unless you've got grinding, but that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah, I totally understand that, because, let's be honest, it makes no sense. Following on, and given I have an Xbox, I know this all too well. For me, brown FPS games.
Oh, yes. I can understand that very well.
Yeah. This isn't so much a gaming pet peeve as it is a pet peeve with entire game. It may be because I started in on FPS games well before the current era, but I'm used to games being colorful and wanting to give me a reason to play them to get away from realism. And furthermore, why is it that every FPS game known to man now has to be set in the Middle East?
Yeah.
Excuse to make it brown, or do you people just really hate Muslims? I live in a desert myself, and it is the brownest, grayest place I could ever possibly not be able to describe, because it is that brown and gray here. Seriously, we have nothing but dirt and sagebrush. But even so, games are supposed to be fiction. They're supposed to be taking away from reality. So, I don't want to play a game that looks like where I live.
Yeah, I can understand that, but even so, there are other places you can use apart from deserts. I mean, I'm looking out of my window right now, which is the real world, and I can see green, blue, maybe one or two white bits of the windmills.
Personally, what I really like to see is people return to either the World War II approach, because at least if you're going on European or Japanese campaigns and that, you have endless green. There is no reason to make it brown. Or what I'd like to see is an FPS game set in the Winter War in Finland. Just for all the green and white you could use.
Yeah, or just any other setting, just something that's more colourful. Games do have to grab people. They do have to draw people in visually in order to get them to buy the game first off before they've even played it. And it's just really boring to look at. Just endless brown sandy deserts, like generic dirt huts with all this dust and everything. It doesn't set your game apart, and it just looks depressing if nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah. And I cannot emphasize this point enough. I don't want to play a game that looks like my hometown. I have had enough brown in my life. I need something to mix it up.
Oh dear.